away. We're just looking down at the warm-up area where we will be loading our finalists for the lightweight men's second 8. We see a few of our crews just a little behind and getting locked on. They still have some time. No worries there. No worries on a yellow card. But just our last 2 crews approaching the stake boats now for the 6-boat A final in the second light 8.
Megan, that drone shot gives you that wonderful skyline that you were looking for yesterday when it was so cloudy and misty and everything.
Yep, couldn't be clearer. Beautiful shot of the Philadelphia city skyline just about 5 miles away from where we are situated here at the Cooper River. So great shot there of this semi-urban setting for this wonderful event that we have here. Finals day at the 2025 IRA. So we can take a look here at our starting lineup for this A final in lane 1. It's Princeton, 6th place at the IRA in this event last year, coming away just off the podium at Eastern Sprints a few weeks ago in 4th place. Your coxswain Luke Harbers and your stroke seat Laszlo Wenk for the Tigers. In lane 2, Dartmouth, 8th place for them at the Eastern Sprints a few weeks ago, so nice progression for them into this A final. Your coxswain Ben Kavanaugh and your stroke seat senior Adam Alto, also the Commodore for this big green crew. In lane 3, it's Harvard. Well, it's hard to look at anyone else really at this stage. It's gold medals across the board for Harvard, both last year in this event and at Eastern Sprints. Your coxswain Megan Ong, a senior out of Carlsbad, California, and your stroke seat James Stevenson, a returning All-American senior out of London in the United Kingdom. In lane 4, Pennsylvania, will they be able to challenge Harvard in this event? Coming away with the silver medal at Eastern Sprints and at the IRA in 2024. Coxswain Carly Yang, a junior out of San Diego, California, and your senior stroke seat Troy Reisenberger out of Sarasota, Florida. For Columbia in lane 5, 6th place for them at the Eastern Sprints in this men's light 2V. Your coxswain Rasha Adajaitis, a senior out of Seattle, Washington. And your stroke seat James Dodman, a freshman out of Buffalo, New York. For Yale, bronze medal for them at EARCs. Will they be able to take one up on this Pennsylvania crew or on this Harvard crew? From the outside lane, might be hard to tell. Coxswain Jackie Weyerhaeuser, senior out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and senior stroke seat Ryan Vaughn out of Moraga, California. So here we go, just moments away from crowning an IRA champion in this men's light 2V.
Harvard is the undefeated favorite in this race, and Billy Boyce's crew has been on a 2-year roll here. They've kind of stepped it up and challenged the rest of the league, and Colin Farrell's Quakers at Pennsylvania have been the ones who've been the closest and giving chase. So those are the 2 winners of the heats. And look for those 2 to have another battle down the course. With this kind of a following wind, I don't think you'll see as big a margin you might have seen had the wind turned around and gone the other way. When you up the speed, it tends to give a chance for everybody to stay a little bit closer. Makes every stroke a little bit more important because one bad one could be the end of it.
Well, we've talked quite a lot. I think the entire IRA community has talked quite a lot about how one bad stroke can really change the entire course of the regatta. But we're not manifesting that or hoping for it here for these athletes in this light 2V. Here we go. We're underway. Looks like our 2 race favorites got the best out of those first 5 strokes. Harvard and Pennsylvania shooting out, getting their bow decks out in front of the field. Maybe just the advantage going to the Crimson with just 10 to 15 strokes under their belts.
Harvard at 43, Pennsylvania at 46. Harvard is moving a little bit farther at a little bit slower stroke rate, so I suspect that there's a power differential there.
Yeah, I mean, there was almost nothing to call in the times that we saw posted in the semis from these 2 crews, Harvard and Pennsylvania, just less than a second separating those times from these 2 crews in those 2 separate preliminary races. So I think we should expect that Pennsylvania is going to put up a really good fight against this Harvard crew. You know, the disadvantage that you might have going in as a strong race favorite is that big target painted on your back. Everyone's going to be gunning for you.
Well, Princeton is right there with Pennsylvania. You can see their tiger stripe bow decks, and the they are probably just a little bit, maybe half a deck back of Pennsylvania. Another third of a length back to Columbia, and Dartmouth are just about level, and then, well, actually, Dartmouth and Yale are just about level. Another third of a length behind Columbia.
Yeah, pretty tight up at the front of the field. Great showing that we're seeing from this crew from Columbia. And this angle, I think, from the drone is a little bit tough. It looks like Columbia has a pretty nice advantage over Princeton, but I think it's awfully close between those two crews for those third and fourth place positions, with maybe just Dartmouth and the crew on the outside from Yale just starting to lose a little bit of ground after this very quick first 500. Harvard first through the line at a 122 and leading the way here into the second 500. The Crimson continuing to push out by several seats now over their closest challengers from Pennsylvania. And a big move from Columbia coming now at the top of your picture. Are they just eating into that Pennsylvania boat now, Dave?
Looks like you could be right, as is, I think, Princeton's right there along with them. So it does look like it's Harvard by a full half a boat length over Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania maybe a deck up on Columbia.
Yeah, that's
somewhere in that mix. We have got Princeton, then Dartmouth, and Yale trails.
Yeah, Yale is looking like they're finding themselves in kind of a lonely spot over there, getting left out of the conversation with Columbia gone. That gives them that kind of detachment from the rest of the field and that lack of energy that they're feeling across the field. And so they're going to have to make sure that that coxswain in that Yale boat is really working hard, Jackie Weyerhaeuser, to keep them in touch with the rest of the race, because this is a screamer that we're seeing from Columbia over in lane 5, just about ready to pull level with second place Pennsylvania, and Princeton continuing to charge as well to see if they can put one over on this Dartmouth crew off to their left.
Well, no one seems to be able to match Harvard's first 1,000 speed, but you're right about Columbia.
There was a little dirty stroke in that Harvard boat. Looks like they've recovered.
You're right about Columbia. They've just almost got their bow ball right up there with Pennsylvania. And it is a little rougher in this part of the area. You're seeing a little bit of scratchy water going on. Nothing to interrupt the flow and speed of the boats.
Yeah, we can see, I think that dirty stroke might have come from the 6-man. No, maybe it was the 5-man, Henry Jones, in that Harvard boat. You could just see the 6-man taking a look around when we had that close-up shot. This is not the day to be having your head looking out of the boat. Everything needs to be so precise. You cannot afford another mistake in this Crimson boat. But look, here we go now. Columbia, just seeing if they can't eke the advantage over this hardworking Pennsylvania crew. Over on the top of your picture, Columbia in lane 5, just coming even. You can see a big look over from the Harvard coxswain Megan Ong, just tracking the progress, because she knows the momentum with these two crews off to her left is going to be very intense, pushing them up into her crew.
Harvard down to around 35 strokes a minute, but with almost a full half boat length lead. Pennsylvania looks like they're trying to regain some ground on Columbia. That's going to be a tight fight for medals.
Yeah.
Princeton perhaps just a little bit off the pace set by those three. It's Harvard, Pennsylvania, and Columbia, followed by Princeton, Dartmouth, and Yale.
Yeah, Princeton, I think, looking to see what they can dig out of the back pocket here as we're coming into the last 500, because they're just about even with Columbia again, as Penn has found something special to launch in this last quarter to see what they can do in the closing meters against this Crimson crew. Harvard have done really well despite that one little oopsie stroke that we saw in that third 500. They've recovered and just maintained their lead as we're coming up to the finish, well into the red buoys now, Dave. Who's going to take it?
It is Pennsylvania on the move. Whether they have enough distance left to catch Harvard is a question.
Yeah, great challenge that we're seeing from Pennsylvania. I think they've left it a little bit too late, allowing Harvard to get a little bit too much in that first 1,000 meters, but all to play for this bronze medal as Princeton and Columbia continue to charge and push up into this Pennsylvania crew, who sit just a few seats down on Harvard, pushing them all the way to the line now. Your defending champions looking to repeat here in 2025, followed by Pennsylvania and... Ooh, do we want to call that Columbia?
Yeah.
That's pretty tough.
That was a tough one. We should wait for the official, but it really did look on the camera like Columbia found something that they needed to snatch that bronze medal. Let's see what we can see on our little screen here. Harvard of course, takes that with 5:39, and that'll be a big new record for the Crimson in this event, smashing the last record that was set in our B final by Georgetown. And it does look like the official have come through, giving Pennsylvania the silver medal, 5:41, and Columbia come away with a sensational bronze medal, 5:42.8. Oh, it's actually, we're waiting for the results from Pennsylvania, or from Princeton. I apologize. Let's make sure that's correct. There you go. All right. Thank you so much to our brilliant timing team. Confirmed and official, Columbia, your bronze medalist over a very fast charging Princeton crew. Very exciting for that last medal, Dave.
And even though it was only 0.3 of a second, right at the line, Columbia knew they had it. They were celebrating. They were really pleased to come away with a medal at this race.
Well, they hung tough in there and held their nerve despite being bow ball for bow ball against Princeton through the middle of the race. And it takes a lot of guts and a lot of focus. Full credit to that Columbia coxswain, whose name I am not going to butcher again. Rasa, great job to you. And let's make sure that we get ready for another exciting round of racing coming up.